Hey friends, going to show you a quick 30-second track here that I've been working on for Pro Synth Network. It's part of our live stream intro, and it fits together with some video and with an intro that one of my partners have made. And but first, to get started, let me just let you hear it, and at the end of it, I'll play it again with Ben's intro and all the video stuff together. So let's hear it.
Let's begin. Pro Synth Network.
Okay, so there it is. So this is one intro track that I've made. I've made a handful of them. Of course, the Synthient Sound intro track is something that I've done. I've done a track for other channels, their intros. And so the project came about, and let me back up and kind of paint the whole picture. So about a year ago, over a year ago now, a friend of mine, Ben Simpson, started a Facebook group, which ultimately became called Pro Synth Network. And basically it's just a place for people to talk about synthesizer gear or composing music, but without all the drama that usually happens in most Facebook synth groups. So it's been a great place to hang out and to meet people, and there's some really amazing people in the group. I mean, everything from just hobbyists to Grammy-winning producers and film scorers and all sorts, everybody in between, YouTubers, and as I said, also a lot of regular people too. So if you'd like to check that out, it's on Facebook, and it's called Pro Synth Network, and you can put in a request to join the group. Just make sure you fill out all 3 questions, or else we won't let you in. So but it's a fantastic group, and it's really great to interact with just the body of knowledge of all the people that are in there. So that started, and been brought on myself and Robbie Puricelli, and probably about March of 2020, as we were talking, Robbie said, why don't we do a live stream? And so we started putting it together, and since I think about late March, we've been doing live streams every Sunday, and that's 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. New York, noon Los Angeles, and you can figure out from there. And mainly we talk about gear news, anything that's of interest, and then we have some really great guests too. I mean, again, just spanning the gamut of styles of music and composers, songwriters, synth enthusiasts, YouTubers, all sorts of people that have been really fascinating to have on, and it's been a really great experience. So as it's going on, we're figuring out how to get things and looking nice and figuring all this live stream stuff out. One of the things that we've done recently is we're using some new software, and also Robbie has worked up some intros, and Ben composed a short piece of music as the direct intro for it, for this Pro Synth Network live stream, and did the graphics and everything. Robbie had a countdown for it, like a stock video countdown, and there was some stock music with it. I thought, well, we could do better. We could make it personal, and we had been talking and kind of throwing back ideas back and forth. And so I decided, well, I'm gonna kind of take this countdown part of it on. And so there's the countdown, and that leads into Ben's little intro right into the show. So I thought, well, see, how am I going to go about this? Now I've done this stuff before, and this countdown timer is by second, so I figured, well, let me do a tempo that's going to kind of fit the graphics of this countdown timer. So counting 30 seconds, all the way down, and you can hear at the end of it where I have that vocal, it falls right in line, 3, 2, 1, and then we have that little bit of extra bit at the end of it. And so started the tempo at 120. Now, one of the things that I like to do is take new hardware, new software that I purchased and immediately use them in music. And so this is no different. And let me just kind of walk you through the tracks real quickly as far as what I used and why I used it. So I've got basically 3 drum tracks, 2 kind of bass rhythm tracks, a pad, and a little chime melody there. And I'll explain what each of these are in a moment. A piano, kind of a rising modular synth, and then also there's the vocals at the end of it. So starting with the drums. These 3 tracks are composed of a drum plugin called Hex Drum. And this is something that I just picked up, and it is a drum synthesizer. So there's no samples in it, and there's no MIDI. And I don't remember now how I created the MIDI for it, but I believe it was either through Logic Drummer or possibly through the TuneTrack Easy Drummer. But anyway, I imported the MIDI into here, and then I did a kind of just handed a fill in the beginning and end of it. And let's hear what this sounds like. So I've actually, the 3 tracks of it, as you can see, there's a fill at the very end that's been processed, and I want it to kind of sharply cut off. And with a song of this size, it's not that many tracks, I just do what's easiest. And so I rendered this here with effects. The main 2 tracks here, you can see the fill, and then the patterns here, they're the same pattern, same program, you know, the plugin going, but I've processed them differently. And so basically think of it as just two tracks of the same drums processed differently for a sound. So with this first one, let me just play you what the sounds like. Just the hex drum, no effects. Actually, let me solo that. So that's just the basic of it. It's really fat sounding. It's a great sounding drum synthesizer, and it's supposed to be like the old Simmons, I believe it is, hex drums from the 80s. Now, I've further processed it, this one track with shade, and I'll show you what that sounds like. So I've taken just basically a stock preset and I modified it a little bit, and that gives you 1/2 of the drum sound. Now the second track here is the same, except I've got a couple other things going on with it. So the same hex drums, and I've got this, which is Shaperbox 2, and just a stock preset. I don't think I adjusted it at all even. And then also another plugin that I'd recently picked up, which is Audiority's Echoes T7E Mark II. If you're not familiar, this is basically the sound of an old 60s delay machine, which actually used the spinning discs to record on. It'd be like a contemporary of the Space Echo, but used a metal disc. Really cool delay sounds, can be really warbly. Probably most famous for being used by David Gilmour for Pink Floyd stuff, and Roger Waters, especially on the bass intro for One of These Days. So you've already heard how the drums sound by themselves. Here is the second track with Shaperbox and Echoes and that intro fill. So as you can hear, it sounds cool, but it's very incomplete because of how it's being processed. So having both of these together creates a really full drum track. Yes, I love how that sounds. And then at the end, there's just the fill again there I added on. So we want to create a nice fat sounding synth track. And I took a Alchemy preset and modified it, changed the sequence, changed a few things about it, and also added some processing to it. And these 2 tracks are identical. I only just changed the sequence on one of the tracks when it hits a minor chord. But here's how that sounds. So that's the preset modified just by itself, and then I processed it again with Shade by UVI. So I thought that worked out really well, very fat. So one of our members of Pro Synth Network, a friend of mine, Robert, you may have seen him online as nativeVS, and he loves working with modular synthesizers. And so on the Pro Synth Network group, he shared a video of him using his modular for FM. Like he had set it up like an FM synthesizer, but it's all analog. And so it sounded really cool. And by the way, check out his channel. He just started a YouTube channel. It's only got like 7 subscribers, so please go subscribe to him. He's got cool stuff. So he did this and decided to record this patch because it's all analog, you know? And then he set it up for a contact and also just the samples by themselves. So he shared those in the Facebook group, and so I downloaded the samples. I'm not a contact user, so one of my challenges was to figure out how to do this in Logic Sampler, which I've been meaning to work with a lot more. And so this kind of gave me some impetus to work with it. I had done some other work with the sampler with my own sound, but I thought it would be fun to use his sounds on this because he's one of the guys in our group and is always in our chats. So I took his sound samples, I figured out how to get it mapped and all that kind of stuff. Listen, I'm kind of a newbie about sampling, so I wish I could explain the process a lot better, but somehow I managed to make it work. So what I did is took his samples, so he had like an arpeggio going with this, and they're kind of shorter bell-like tones, and they sound really cool, so I made a pad out of it. So at the very beginning of the song, you hear this. And at the end of the song, you hear it again. Now, the other thing that I did was I took it and made it a shorter sound as well. Actually, let me go back up to this pad for a moment here. So there is that, and I've processed it using Arturia's Dimension D. A really cool program that I love right now. It's Sine Vibes Albedo, and it's a granular delay. And of course, my favorite's Valhalla. So it creates this really nice there's a very ethereal pad sound. The second sound, which I did with the same samples, I processed again with the chorus, and this time with Irid's Tritic Irid, which is a Shimmer Reverb. If you're not really into the Shimmer reverbs, I've got a few of them. The Eventide one sounds like what you think of as Shimmer. I find the Valhalla and the Strymon ones the most musical. This one is great if you want like a darker, grittier sound. And so I used it on this sample. And what I was thinking was in somewhere in, I don't remember if it's Britain or Europe, somewhere else in Europe, but in the subway, we call them subway over here, on the tube or whatever it is over there, there's a little musical phrase that is to alert passengers or whatever. And David Gilmour had incorporated that into music on his last album. I had that in the kind of the back of my head, and I didn't use the musical phrase. It's like a little 4-note thing. But I thought this could use that kind of a sound that kind of says, hey, wake up, where things are about to go, or you need to hear this, or, let's get started, kind of a phrase. So actually, I just did a very simple, would be F Ionian. Just that little musical phrase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think that's what it is here. Let's play it. And then you just hear that shimmer kind of just fade there as that decays. And so really liked how these samples sound. And I wanted to kind of include things that would be meaningful to Pro Synth Network. So there's a lot of things that we talk about are favorites of ours. And so another favorite is some of the Spitfire audio stuff. And so I decided that I would be using labs someplace on here. And then I just processed it with this free, I think I got this free, it's a Waves DBX compressor. So again, new gear, trying it out. And one of my favorite programs of all time, Valhalla Vintage Verb. And so my thought with this piano piece was everything else is like a very rhythmic thing going, and it's kind of a straight da 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 da, and then the rhythm synth, the drums. Why not make something that's a little bit scattered? And so interweaving through the music is this sort of falling down the stairs type of piano and isolated. And here's one of the tricks of recording is that things don't always sound great on their own, but it's when you mix them in to the context of a whole song, some unusual little part. This is why I love listening to the Beatles and George Martin and his work with them, or hearing some isolated guitar tones or something that would never work by themselves. You just think that'd be grating, but yet it just works so well in the context of a song. So by itself, it sounds kind of awful. So you hear that nice like kind of clicky sound of the action of the piano. And then I'm using a sequenced ARP, I guess, arpeggiator. So I've got this funny thing going with it here to have that sort of falling over itself, or it's the sound of the piano being played as a child's somersault, kind of sound to it. And the last piece, which it's so weird, this is the part of the song where you don't really hear it until you hear it, and then it's like, oh, it's there. And this is just done with Arturia's modular. I don't remember if this was pretty quickly done, so I didn't even make any presets for this. I didn't wire this up. I don't remember if I modified this preset or not, but it's just a simple kind of rising, again, to give the sound of something's beginning, we're getting started. So then in the context of all that, and the last component of this, of course, is that little vocal part. So let me show you just the vocal. So by itself, it just sounds like me, and it's kind of boring, and it's also my funny mixed American accent that's part Midwest, part West Coast, and the other two guys are British, and we probably have the most viewership in England or Great Britain, but some Americans as well, and then people all over the world, Australia, South America, different places. But I thought, well, I'd try to make it a little more neutral sounding. So I thought, well, let me just screw as much as I can with this and make it very electronic sounding.
3, 2, 1.
So very boring. So first thing I did was I popped it into Melodyne and shifted it around a little bit.
3, 2, 1.
And then the main thing that you're hearing, I've got two things going on here. I've got Isotope's vocal synth, so I kind of went through a bit of Waves Ovox as well as Isotope's vocal synth, and this seemed to be working the best for vocals or voice work, whereas I like Ovox a little bit for like really mangling instruments like drums. So I settled on this sound where I was just kind of scrolling around, and I started modifying some things and kind of came up with a sound that I liked. And so that's the main bit of it. It's got a little bit of chorus on it. And then after that, I ran it into Valhalla Delay. But Valhalla Delay has this brand new algorithm. Again, got to try something new here. And it's called Pitch Duck. And so what I did with it is I actually pitch shifted up. So you'll hear kind of a chorus of voices, some that are lower than my normal voice. You don't really hear my normal voice in it. And then you hear what sounds like almost like female voices and male voices being mixed together. So here it is without Valhalla Delay.
3, 2, 1.
And now with Valhalla Delay and this pitch algorithm.
3, 2, 1. Let's begin Pro Synth Network.
And that's the delay part of it. So again, didn't take me that long to finish this up. Probably what took most of the time was to figure out how to use Logic Sampler and get that stuff in there. But it was a fun little project to put together. And now I'm going to leave you with a video, which would be the intro video for our live stream. And again, want to just invite you to come check it out. Check out the YouTube channel. Join us on the live stream. There's a chat section to it. We just really enjoy interacting with the people in the chat, and some great people in there. And again, just hope you enjoyed the video. I'll probably do some more videos about new software, new gear that I've got for Black Friday. So anyways, I'll see you next time.